Let me ask you something. Why is it that two men can start at the same line with the same tools, the same education, the same chances, yet one dies wealthy and the other dies with nothing but regrets? Is it talent? No, that's a myth. Is it luck? No, that's a lie. The real difference is principle. You see, success is never an accident. It's a blueprint, a pattern, a law. And those who rise, they don't stumble into greatness. They build it brick by brick using time-tested truths that most folks never even learn. I've spent my life interviewing the most powerful men of our time. Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, and I uncovered something most people never will. The game is rigged, but not in the way you think. It's rigged in favor of the man who knows these principles and uses them without apology. So if you've ever felt stuck, like you're running in place, like you've got the dream, but not the results, lean in. Because what you're missing is not more effort. What you're missing is alignment. Today, I will give you 8 essential principles that shape the difference between average men and legacy builders, between failure and fortune, between waiting for the miracle and becoming the miracle. You were born with the seed of greatness, but seeds don't grow in the wrong soil. I'm here to change your soil. The next 60 minutes could change the trajectory of your life, and it all starts now. Welcome back, my friend. You've taken the first step simply by showing up, and that's something most people never do. If you believe success isn't just for the chosen few, if you believe you are meant for more, then you're already walking the path. Now, before we take this further, do me a favor. If you're feeling this, if something's already stirring deep inside you, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Not for me, for you, because the mind you feed today will shape the life you live tomorrow. All right, let's get to the first truth, the one that unlocks every other door. One definite purpose. The starting point of all achievement is desire, backed by purpose. If you don't know what you want, the world will use you to build what it wants. Let me ask you something direct. When was the last time you were clear? Not busy, not overwhelmed, not half committed to 5 things at once. I mean laser clear about one mission, one mountain, because until you define your purpose, success will treat you like a stranger, and the world, it'll hand you every distraction, every detour, every demand, until one day you realize you've built someone else's dream and left yours in the attic to gather dust. Let me tell you about Edwin C. Barnes, a man you've probably never heard of, but one whose story rewrote my understanding of power. Barnes had one obsession, not to work for Thomas Edison, but to become his partner. Now hear me, he had no money, no credentials, no connections, just one thought, repeated over and over: I will work with Edison. I will work with Edison. He jumped on a freight train, slept in boxcars, showed up at Edison's office uninvited, broke, dusty, but with fire in his eye. Edison said later, he looked like an ordinary tramp, but something in his expression made me give him a chance. That chance turned into a job. That job turned into trust. That trust turned into partnership. And Barnes became a millionaire because of one thing. He knew exactly what he wanted. Now I turn to you. What do you want? Not vaguely, not something better, not more money. I mean the kind of purpose that makes your heart beat louder, the kind that scares you and excites you at the same time. I want you to write it down, right now. No filter, no fear. Speak it, claim it. Make it so clear that if someone woke you at 3 a.m. and asked you why you exist, you'd have the answer without blinking. You see, vagueness is the enemy of progress. You can't hit a target you can't build a future you haven't defined. Successful men move with purpose. They don't just work, they aim. They don't just wish, they intend. Because here's the brutal truth. The man who knows where he's going will always control the man who doesn't, every time. So if you don't want to spend your life following orders, chasing trends, or begging for scraps, you must set a definite purpose that burns in your soul like a furnace. In this life, if you don't pick your mountain, you'll end up dying in someone else's valley. So pick it, write it, own it. That's the first principle. definite purpose. And now that you've declared what you want, I'm going to show you how to want it so fiercely that the universe has no choice but to bend in your direction. And now that you've claimed your purpose, let's talk about the fire that keeps it alive. Because having a goal means nothing if you're not willing to walk through hell to reach it. And I mean that plain. See, principle 2 is called burning desire, and it's not just a phrase, it's the furnace behind every empire, the heartbeat of every dream that refused to die. Because there's a difference between wanting and needing, and most people never cross that line. They say they want success, but the moment it gets uncomfortable, the moment it costs them sleep, sweat, or silence, they run back to comfort like it's some kind of savior. Let me tell you the truth. Comfort will kill more dreams than failure ever could, because failure refines you, but comfort sedates you. Now let me tell you a story I never forgot. The story of a man who bought land out west during the gold rush, dug day after day, spent every dime on equipment, hired men, poured himself into the earth, and just when it seemed like nothing would come of it, he sold his machinery to a junk man for pennies, packed up and disappeared. But that junk man, he was curious. So he took the maps and brought in a mining engineer who studied the fault lines and said, "Sir, the gold vein is just 3 feet away." And sure enough, 3 feet from where that man gave up was a fortune, a literal mountain of gold waiting, buried not under rock, but under the weight of someone else's doubt. And I tell you this, because some of you listening right now are 3 feet from everything you said you were born for, and you don't even know it. Your dream isn't gone. It's just hiding behind your hesitation. And if you dig one more day, take one more risk, hold on one more time, you'd touch it. But most folks never will, because they don't burn hot enough, they don't want it bad enough to bleed for it, sweat for it, break for it. So let me ask you something right here, and right now. What do you want so badly that you'd fail 99 times just for one shot to make it real? Because until you find that level of desire, you're not chasing success, you're flirting with it, and success doesn't reward the flirt, it rewards the obsessed, the relentless, the ones who treat their dreams like oxygen, non-negotiable, because desire is not a hope, it is not a wish, it is not a post you write when you're feeling inspired. It's a quiet roar that never leaves your bones, and when it's real, it moves your feet before your fear can stop them. It drags you out of bed before the alarm even rings, and it whispers, "We go again," even when the world says stop. Desire is fire, and fire either lights your way or burns your excuses. But it can't do both, and every man must choose. So choose now. Will you be the one who stops 1 inch from gold? Or will you be the one who keeps digging when the dirt turns to doubt and the world turns its back? Because those who win aren't the ones who got it easy. They're the ones who refused to let the flame go out when no one else was watching. Let your desire be so loud that it drowns out the noise. Let it be so deep that even your failures tremble in its heat. Because if your purpose is the map, then burning desire is the engine. And baby, without fuel, you're just parked in the driveway of destiny with nowhere to go. So stoke the fire, fan the flame, and get ready. Because next we're talking about the invisible force that turns desire into reality. Faith in what I'm about to say next might just change how you see the entire world. And now that the fire has been lit inside you, now that you've remembered what it feels like to want something so bad it hurt, we must talk about the bridge that carries that desire from the mind into the real world. It's invisible, yet it builds everything you see around you, and I call it faith, not the kind found in pews or steeples, but the kind that lives in your chest, the kind that wakes you up with nothing but a dream and dares you to believe it anyway, because faith is not religion, it's mental clarity under pressure. It's belief without permission. It's the power to see what isn't there and act like it's already yours. Every man who has ever done something great started by walking blind, by trusting something no one else could see, and I mean no one, because the crowd only claps after the victory lap. But real champions, they clap before there's even a track, they shout before there's a stage, and they march forward before the fog clears, not because they see the finish line, but because they believe it exists. And I'm telling you this because the world you want to live in, the one where your bills are paid, your name is respected, your voice is heard, your dream is real. That world starts not with proof, but with faith. And if you wait for proof, you'll wait your whole life, because success doesn't send a confirmation email. It sends a whisper and it asks, will you trust me even now? So here's the truth. Most won't tell you. Your mind is soil, and every thought you plant will either feed your future or bury it. And faith is what waters the dream before it breaks the dirt, even when the ground looks dry, even when nothing is sprouting, even when the world says give, and your own reflection starts asking if you've lost it. That is when faith speaks loudest. And if you want to build anything meaningful, you've got to master the most powerful affirmation on earth. I will, I must, I am. Say it again and say it like you mean it. I will, I must, I am. Because those words are not decoration, they are declaration, and they are the difference between wishing and winning. Listen to me closely. Every time you act with faith, you place a brick in the house of your destiny. And though others may laugh while you build, they'll beg for shelter when the storm comes. But you kept building when it was just a blueprint in your heart, and that's what separates the bold from the broken. I've seen too many souls bury their dreams because the soil didn't bloom fast enough. But real visionaries know. The seed never shouts when it's growing. It grows in silence, and one day it breaks through, not because of luck, but because someone believed before the world clapped. So don't let the delay steal your belief. Don't let the quiet make you question this, because faith is doing the work when no one's watching. It's trusting the path when the road disappears, and it's whispering, still I rise, when everything in you wants to sit down. Remember what the mind can conceive and believe. It can achieve, but only if it holds the line, only if it walks through the dark with fire in its chest and vision in its soul. And that's why the next principle is so critical, because belief is not enough. If it's floating in space, it must be focused, sharpened, and shaped into something real. And that brings us to specialized knowledge, because you don't just need passion, you need precision. So now that you believe, now that your spirit is armed with the unshakable force of faith, we need to focus that belief like a laser, because power without precision is chaos, and that brings us to specialized knowledge. The fourth principle, and one of the most misunderstood, because the world keeps feeding you a lie, that you've got to know everything, collect degrees like trophies, memorize every quote, study every subject. But listen to me. Success doesn't come from knowing a little about a lot. It comes from knowing a lot about one thing, from going deeper than the crowd is willing to dig, because generalists survive, but specialists dominate. And if you want to rise to the top, you must master your craft so thoroughly that the world has no choice but to call your name when that door opens. Now I remember what Andrew Carnegie told me. He didn't become one of the richest men in history by doing everything himself. He surrounded himself with those who knew what he didn't. And the same goes for Henry Ford. When critics mocked him for not having a traditional education, he stood tall and said, "Why should I clutter my mind with facts I can find in a book or by pushing a button?" Because he understood something most people never learn. You don't need to carry every answer in your brain. You need to know where to find them, and who to trust with what you don't know. And that right there is the secret that sets kings apart from the common. Because specialized knowledge makes you irreplaceable. And in a noisy, distracted world, where people can't focus for 5 minutes, deep focus is a superpower, and your ability to carve into a subject, to own a space, to understand a system better than 98% of people, that becomes your weapon, your leverage, your income, your legacy. So stop trying to do everything. Stop stretching yourself thin. Stop chasing shiny objects and shallow skills. Pick something that matters, something that moves you, and own it. Read about it, talk about it, test it, fail with it, succeed through it, and let the world come to know you as the one who knows that thing better than most. Because that's how you rise, not by being a jack of all trades, but by being the master of one. And if you don't know what that thing is yet, don't panic. Your purpose will guide you there. Your desire will fuel you through it, and your faith will keep you standing long enough to become undeniable in it. But it's your discipline to specialize that makes you a weapon. And the truth is, no matter how smart or driven you are, if you're scattered, you're stuck. But if you're sharp, you're unstoppable. And that's why the next principle we're going into is the most creative one of all. Because once you master your knowledge, it's time to build the world you want to live in. And that's where the magic of imagination begins. So now that you've focused your power through specialized knowledge, now that you've sharpened your mind like a blade and chosen the arena where you will win, not wander, it's time to activate the force that builds bridges from your knowledge to your future, the force that every innovator, every world changer, every self-made king has used without apology. And that force is imagination. Because listen to me carefully, you can't build what you can't first see. And that's not just philosophy, that's the first law of every success story on earth. Because every skyscraper was once just a sketch. Every airplane was a dream in a mind before it was wings in the sky. And every legacy you admire today was built brick by invisible brick in someone's imagination, long before it touched the ground. And the same goes for your future. What you're imagining today is what you'll be standing in tomorrow. And if the images in your mind are full of fear, doubt, limitation, and what ifs, then that's what you'll live out. Not because the world hates you, but because the world follows your vision. And if you give it nothing to follow, it gives you nothing in return. And here's the hard truth most folks won't say out loud. Most people never succeed because they spend more time repeating the past than creating the future. They replay the wounds, the betrayals, the failures like broken records, and wonder why their life stays stuck. But imagination is the great rebellion. It's your chance to create what doesn't yet exist, to challenge the script, to edit the narrative, and write a life that looks nothing like the one you came from. And if you don't choose your own images, the world will project theirs onto you. Scarcity, conformity, mediocrity, and quiet desperation. I need you to understand your mind is the drafting room of your destiny. And whatever picture you keep painting in there, your life will eventually copy it. So ask yourself, what images dominate your mind right now? Are they making you stronger or smaller? Are they pulling you toward your calling or keeping you stuck in someone else's shadow? Because in every moment, you are either designing or drifting, either creating or copying. And don't let this world fool you into thinking creativity is optional. It's the difference between building your dream and renting someone else's. Because this world doesn't reward copies, it rewards visionaries. And you don't need to be an artist to imagine. You just need the courage to close your eyes and see something bigger than your circumstance, louder than your doubt, and realer than your excuses. And when that picture becomes clear, when you can feel it, taste it, walk through it in your mind, your body will follow, your habits will shift, your decisions will align, and your path will start forming beneath your feet like bricks falling into place with every step. Because imagination is your spiritual blueprint, and the clearer it becomes, the faster your life catches up. So dream in detail, believe in color, and don't just imagine success, live there. Because once the mind accepts a vision as real, the body gets to work like it already exists. And that's why in the next principle, we move from vision to structure, from dreaming to doing. Because it's time to talk about organized planning, and how your ideas, no matter how beautiful, will rot without strategy. So now that you've dared to imagine a life bigger than what you were handed now, that your mind has become the architect of possibility and your vision is alive in vivid color, it's time to bring that dream down from the clouds and give it bones, breath, and blueprint. Because the truth is, dreams without plans are just delusion, and no matter how beautiful your vision is, it will rot in your mind if it's never backed by structure. Because success is not spontaneous combustion. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. It doesn't arrive with good intentions or motivational quotes. It shows up when you strike the match, gather the wood, and build the fire with intent, step by step, plan by plan, day by day. And that's why this sixth principle, organized planning, is the bridge between your imagination and your results. And if you skip this, you might as well skip the dream too. Because without a strategy, all you're doing is chasing shadows, not building substance. Now listen carefully. Every man who's ever built anything of lasting value had a system, a schedule, a timeline, a structure, and most of all, a team. And that brings us to one of the most powerful tools I ever discovered, the mastermind, a small group of minds aligned around one mission, one purpose, one outcome. Because when you align with others who share your intensity, your vision multiplies, and your weakness gets covered by their strength. And together you move faster, stronger, clearer, and I don't care how smart you are. You will not win alone, not at the highest level. So stop pretending you have to carry it all on your back and start building your mastermind circle. People who speak life into you, challenge your thinking, hold you accountable, and remind you who you are when life tries to make you forget. And now I want to bring this to your feet, real time, because if you're serious about what you've imagined, then you must plan for it like your future depends on it, because it does. So let me ask you plainly, what will you do in the next 30 days, the next 30 minutes? Not someday, not soon, because the gap between your dream and your reality is filled with one thing: execution. And here's a simple 4-step system to bring structure to your success. 1. Clarify the goal. Write it down in full detail, measurable and specific. 2. Break it down. Reverse engineer it into weekly tasks and daily targets. 3. Assign accountability, either to yourself with consequences or to someone who won't let you slide. And 4. Set a time limit, because deadlines create discipline, and without pressure the dream stays parked in fantasy. And I'll be honest, this part is where most people fall off, because it's no longer fun, it's no longer hypothetical, it's real, and when it gets real it gets hard. But it also gets possible, and you've come too far in this journey to turn soft now. So plan like your life depends on it, because it does. And know this: clarity creates confidence, strategy silences self-doubt, and structure gives your dream a spine. And once the plan is in place, it's time to decide. And I mean really decide, because the next principle is the razor that cuts through every delay and every excuse. It's time we talk about decision, and why the fastest way to kill a dream is hesitation. So now that you've walked through all 8 principles with me, now that you've faced yourself, your fear, your patterns, your past, and stood tall through it all, I need you to pause for a breath and understand just how far you've come, because what you hold in your hands right now are not just words or ideas. They are the keys, 8 of them, forged in the fire of real men, tested by time, and handed down not just to be admired but to be used. And now comes the only question that matters. Will you open the door? Because you hold the pen now, and whatever chapter comes next in your story is no longer bound by what they said about you, what they did to you, or what the world tried to deny you. It's bound only by the limits you refuse to break. So let's remember what we've learned, not with logic but with rhythm. Let it echo in your bones. You started with definite purpose because you must know where you're going before the world takes you somewhere you never wanted to be. Then came burning desire, the fire that makes you chase it even when it hurts. Next was faith, the unshakable belief in the unseen, the bridge between vision and reality. Then specialized knowledge, because mastery matters more than memorizing the world. Then came imagination, your power to paint what doesn't yet exist and live inside the blueprint before the house is built. You moved into organized planning, where dreams stopped floating and started walking. You embraced decision, the moment you claimed your life with a single fearless yes. And finally you reached persistence, the muscle that doesn't give up even when the world forgets your name. And now it's your move. Not tomorrow, not next month. Now, because while they may doubt you, while they may delay you, while they may laugh, ignore, or even walk away, they can't stop you unless you let them. And you didn't come this far to fold. You came to write your name in bold, to stamp it on the walls of history, to build a legacy that echoes long after you're gone, because the world is watching, not for perfection, but for someone bold enough to start, to stumble, to rise, and to finish. So tell me now, which principle shook your soul the most? Which one are you ready to live? Drop it in the comments. Let the world know you're not hiding anymore. And if this lit something in you, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. And share this with someone you believe in, someone who needs to remember what they're made of. And above all, don't just be inspired. Be transformed, because today you don't just walk away with words. You walk away with weapons, with truth, with power. And the world better be ready, because the next chapter, you're writing it. And this time, you know exactly how.